This Polifonia conference has very much fulfilled, indeed I would say exceeded my expectations for the project. 3 years ago when we set out, we were seeking to establish parameters for our understanding of entrepreneurship. We were seeking to forge closer links with European professional organizations dealing with music, and out of that to form a very clear picture of what the situation is and how we should move forward. I believe over the last 2 days that's exactly what we have seen, a very clear presentation of the European situation, divided and rationalized into 5 regional types, and a whole series of inspiring ideas of how we might work to improve the ways that conservatoires address the different and diverse challenges in those 5 regions, and how they might take forward the integration of entrepreneurship into the curricula of conservatoires.
The working group dedicated to lifelong learning in music, educating for entrepreneurship, was composed of professionals from across Europe involved in the music profession, as well as representatives of conservatoires. Our mandate was to look at what existed in terms of entrepreneurial training across Europe and how we might work to promote this and develop entrepreneurial training not only in the conservatoire sector but also for professional musicians. Since we're talking about lifelong learning, we're talking about musicians from the age of 18 to 80.
I would define the musician entrepreneur as someone who really has no limits to what they want to do on graduation. They can look to be entrepreneurial within their own discipline of music, but equally they can look out with music to see where music can have an impact on other parts of society. So it's not just about their personal creativity, they can actually look for a higher level of creativity and say, you know, where can we make a difference? Our ideas don't just have an economic impact, they can have a social impact as well, or both.
I think one of the issues for many emerging musicians is that they have very high level performance skills, but there are many fewer opportunities to perform. So one of the concrete things that they will learn about is to think more about who are my audiences, or who might my audiences be? What are they looking for? What are their needs? How can I fulfill those? How can I reach those people? And so actually start to find ways to bring real performances into the world rather than sitting at home and waiting for that elusive phone call to say, come and play with us.
There's a tendency at the moment to focus very heavily on entrepreneurship for all students, not only artistic students, but all students all around Europe. It's emphasized in the Erasmus Plus program and it's emphasized in all national strategies. And I think it's related to the fact that Europe has been in a severe economic crisis. So we want to give all our young people a chance to survive in a more hostile environment, so to speak. But this is not enough. Because if we just go and say as institutions, you have to do this and that, and then we're not doing it the right way. We have to be very good at listening to what the students are actually saying, the needs of the students. It's changing all the time. Technology is an important part of this. All the possibilities they have now, they didn't have 5-10 years ago. We have to take it into consideration. We have to adapt to it as institutions. Instead of being sitting on the back seat of the car, we have to be in the front seat and actually try to influence the role of the academies in society for the sake of the students and the future music life.
We just have to give people opportunities to develop this entrepreneurship. They have to be encouraged to develop new projects and take initiative. If you just sit in the classroom and learn for your exams, you don't develop an entrepreneurial mind. So for conservatories, I think it's a real challenge. And it's not just adding another course to the curriculum, it's really changing the whole environment and opening up the conservatory for the real world.
The student will receive a pithy and concrete definition of innovation and entrepreneurship, put in the context of Polifonia's broader work with specific information both on the process of entrepreneurship The headings, as described, are developing the idea, accessing funding, communication and sustainability, and also real-life practice of entrepreneurship, as Renata explained so eloquently. In these concrete examples, the student can perhaps imagine their own future through these inspiring region-specific examples of such work.
One of the problems sometimes with actors and musicians is that you work so hard to be able to develop your identity, to be able to say, I'm a musician, I've got there, I'm quite good, and I can sustain a living from being a musician, that once you've got there, maybe at the end of a 4-year undergraduate degree, it's quite hard to break out of the box. And I think that's our biggest challenge in terms of conservatoires, of supporting that more lateral thinking, that you do have transferable skills if you need them. But even if you don't, and you've got a brilliant career as a musician, or you're able to have an orchestral career, you can still do other things as well. I kind of think we're coming back full circle, because I think just in terms of what is happening in the economy, what is happening in the music industry, what is happening in our theatre industry, it means that we need to be really carefully, from my point of view, preparing people for a portfolio career. And I mean a portfolio career that is very vibrant and very different. That might not just be a portfolio career that includes teaching and performing and those sort of things. It could be setting up your own business, and it could be running something commercial on the side, and it could be doing something completely different.
The question of musical entrepreneurship, the issue and the whole mindset of it, is so important for young musicians nowadays, because they face a lot of changes on the labor market and in the political and social and economic environments. So what we are trying to give musicians with the outcome of the Working Group 4 work is new opportunities, taking your future into your own hands, make your own existence with your own ideas, use your artistic vision, your creativity, and acquire new skills that are necessary to become a musical entrepreneur. So it's a mindset, it's a vision, and it's also something very concrete. Turn your ideas into practice. And we would like to give young musicians the tools to be able to do so.
I think the conference has been wonderful, and the project has been wonderful, and the outcomes are extremely relevant and very worthwhile for conservatoires worldwide, I guess, but especially for European conservatoires. One of the important things is that there has been a good mapping of the landscape going on. So we now know what's going on in which region, how different countries and regions relate to each other, and also we know which expertise is where. And one of the most important things, I think, in this project is that it allows experts from various countries, people on the lookout for experts, to relate to each other, to get into contact with each other, and together build new content as they go.
What I think is very important is that conservatoires should establish more collaborations with the profession. So it's not just about some kind of sporadic internships, but to create a kind of a learning environment where students move in and out of the profession all the time. So we maybe have to also look on how we kind of organize our curricula, how we organize our teaching, because if we offer these opportunities to students that they can have very meaningful opportunities in the profession, I think this is going to be a very important added value for their training.
I want you to start thinking of less than 140 characteristic value proposition tweet. Okay, I want you to nail it. Okay? So if you think about it.
The whole purpose of the boot camp, I think, is that beyond talking about and debating the issues, we actually work with some emerging musicians to demystify what entrepreneurship might be about, to work with their ideas, to give them some confidence that they actually can go out there and work in this kind of way, and to develop some of the skills that might be needed, some of which they already have in different guises, but maybe need to be translated into some new contexts, and other skills that will be brand new. Now, we've only got a day and a half, so we're going to scratch the surface, but the ambition is that we create a transformative experience for a group of emerging musicians from different countries across Europe, so with very different experiences.
What's interesting about these boot camps is that people come with different attitudes, different skill sets. They learn from each other. It generates a new way of thinking for students, so that they go back and they implement some of those ideas and processes to either make a better idea, or in a lot of cases allows them to collaborate with people that they've met. And I think that's more important. That's very important these days when you look at globalization and internationalization, and that business is done globally, and that also a lot of funding is done to promote projects that are global.
I came to this boot camp with an idea, a really good idea, but it was a bit hazy, and I was being a little bit idealistic. So on the boot camp, I really wanted to sharpen the idea and to work with professionals in the business and enterprise industries to see if it was a viable business. I've learned so many invaluable things over these 2 days.
Students told about projects they envisioned to do. And some of those projects were economically viable, I guess, and good ideas, and maybe a good startup. But nearly all of them also were socially well-informed, artistically well-informed. So it's the balance of the business side of entrepreneurship and the attitude side of entrepreneurship which made the biggest sense for me.
We kind of touched the surface now. And there's a feeling that, yeah, something needs to happen, and some conservatoires have already, for sure, developed courses, but we are touching a surface which is the promising beginning. And I really look forward to kind of understand how it's going to further develop. And definitely with our network, we would be really prepared to also look into other ways to create bigger kind of groupings and ways of connectivity and ways of bringing both in and outside roads together and make it work for young people who are at the edge of their careers. We feel that this subject is really at the heart of what it is to be a musician today, and that there are lots of innovative ways to tackle the subject, and that there's no one answer, but that this is something that should in fact infuse everything that we are doing, and that is not something that is separate, that we need to put out as a separate item, but that it's really part of the fabric of culture today.
Today, the musician has to create work for themselves, not get a job. And if they are to do that, they need to be resourceful, they need to have the means with which to tackle difficulties, obstructions, adversity. They need to have a good business sense along with their artistic sense. And if they can apply those two things together in a beautiful synergy, then their likelihood of success is maximized. We as conservatoires have to provide our students with the most effective and complete toolkit for survival and success, so we must address entrepreneurship. This conference has shown what it can be to make things happen, and I think it puts down a challenge to us to make things happen in the future, to embed entrepreneurship in our curriculum.